Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legendary Alm analysis at long last. I know some of you have been waiting for this one for quite a bit, so I went into a little bit more detail than just unit builds here, but to actually explain why Alm is as impactful as he is, and why you may need to consider different strategies or even invest into him properly should you want to. In fact, let's just put Alm here instead of Legion, just so he can hang around in our resort in the meantime.
A solid move.
He can hang out. Oh, the armors needs to go back there. There we go. Now it's true Aether Resort. Okay, so back on point. Let's go into Alm. So Alm is a pair-up Earth legendary hero. He can be used anytime that Astra or Light Seasons line up with Earth, which actually happens at least once a month, when it's not Earth month. So Alm will find some usage in AR offense, but more specifically I find his place to be most important in both Allegiance battles, where you kind of need a pair-up unit right now to score optimally. In fact, a full +10 roster with no legendary hero, even at +0, will still, you're still going to want a +0 like Alm or Roy right now to score optimally or score as much as you can. And that's how important they are at the time being. I have an Alm myself because I felt like I needed it to get top 1k, and I was right. You do need one if you want to get top 1k with a max score team. Plus, it makes the mode a lot easier. Pair up is a really interesting mechanic. Along that note, though, he has a lot of implications for AR defense specifically. Offense, again, he's kind of just taken a role that's already been fulfilled, that one I use very commonly on AR offense myself, but tends to work. So let's first talk about how you would use him if you pull one. So here we go. Thank you to Fox for finally bringing back our unit builder. We can finally take a look at units how I feel they should be. So here's Alm and the way you want to use him on AR offense. He can be used in two specific strategies. One is the hidden run strat, and I don't feel like the hidden run strat is very reliable. It tends to not work against units that have reach, especially with legendary Azuras in the back, or just dancers and cavalry units. You're not going to be able to successfully hit and run with someone like Alm, and honestly Brave Lynn or even LA Roy do this better because of reach, or even Reinhardt. So I don't really recommend using Alm in that way. The best way you'll use him is just close counter advantage, and he has a good attack stat for this. If you end up with a plus attack Alm or start merging him and giving him some flowers, he is the archer to use this for, and he does it pretty well, especially if you consider that common defense teams happen to be fireballs, so he will do really well against those. Not really much to say. The build is a pretty staple build. You could probably run Slaying or Silver Bow with Attack Refine, which technically gives him more power than Luna Arc does because it's a more enemy phase kind of style. You could run double Savage Bows if you don't have Defense Smoke or Brazen Attack Seal upgraded, and you could even run Miracle instead of Lunar Flash, since the special itself is not so relevant when doing Vantage stuff. But if you don't have Alm, or you already have this covered, this is actually what I use in AR right now, and I don't even plan to really give close counter advantage to my Alm for the time being. It's just Jomp K, right? Jomp K is like one attack lower than Alm, easier to merge up through Grails or through the copies you picked up through his reruns. So yeah, he does it just as well, and you can easily merge him up to +2 with 3 flowers to get one attack less than Alm. So plus you can choose the season you want to use him without relying on overlap from Astra and Light Blessings. So if you have Jomp K, just use Jomp K. Comparably speaking though, you can use Leon as well, who's pretty good, or if you have merged up Summer Takumi or Hanoka, I guess, even Boki. There's some alternatives, but generally speaking, the more attack, the better when it comes to close counter advantage shenanigans, and Jomp K, Leon are pretty good candidates for this. That pretty much covers the best way to use them on AR offense. Again, not the best user of hidden run strats. 3-move range calves do it better. And if you're talking about Arena Assault, just uses max scoring build. Same for Allegiance battles. He's a good unit to merge up, definitely. But what I really want to focus this analysis on is going to be the AR defense implications of Legendary Alm, which are insane. So this is something you may or may not see. I hope you don't see it. I don't want to see it either, but it definitely can be a thing you run into when you play AR defense. And trust me, this is disgusting, because an Alm that runs Luna Arc plus Luna. Of course, he'd be infantry pulsed twice plus quick impulse on a defense team, and he would receive all these buffs if you consider the rally trap, because he's running rally resistance there. I'll show you in a moment how this actually would look in practicality, but it's something you would run into. And if he runs 30 impact plus null follow-up, the dude has 48 defense, almost 70 plus resistance, magical bulk rather, and huge almost 90 bulk when it comes to physical damage. So this is really disgusting, difficult to kill, and also a lot of damage that ends up just cutting through armor. And this is what makes Alm ridiculous, because no other unit right now in the game does this. His real weakness is pretty much like a Raven Tome, a TA Raven Tome, but true defensive teams will not let you just Raven Tome their Alm. They're going to have overlap between different colors. So let's say you use Sophia and you Eternal Tome, like TA him. The problem is there's probably an Ophelia right beside ready to blow up your Sophia. So that's how air defense will really matter when it comes to this. And Alm himself doesn't have that weakness besides the Raven Tome. Bowbreaker doesn't work, null follow-up. Vengeful Fighters don't work, null follow-up. Worry Fighters don't work, null follow-up. You see how this matters. The only counter to something like this is literally a null follow-up unit itself, and then it becomes a speed check. But you got to look at his speed. It's 52, so it's pretty hard to even compete with that necessarily. Okay, so practically speaking, I have this really beautiful thing here I want to show you guys. So here is Alm in a preview of a defense team where he is really set up in a way to blow up your tanks. And I'll explain the thought process of this. So I've set him up to fight against the biggest tank in the game right now. Like literally the best tank in the game merged up, which is Canagis with Kaden right behind. There are some units that are comparable to Canagis, but Canagis is generally the best one. He can run Solemn Shield and DC, so he has no real weakness. Kaden is behind him, supporting him. Kaden is the support unit with the most stats given to another unit. Alphonse is our bonus unit, unfortunately. You might end up with better bonus units, but we'll just assume it's Alphonse. And your double air, which could be substituted for Astra if you choose to run this in Astra. This is your optimal offense scoring team. You cannot really sub out anything out of here because you just don't have this room in your team comps without losing lift. Now, if you look at the team comp on the enemy team, you have a lot of common nukers or just a team comp that really synergizes well to blow things up. What you have here, of course, is Ophelia, common air defense unit. Lalina, again, common air defense unit. One legendary Azura for that 3 movement. Sylvia is the infantry dancer with the most HP. She's 3-star now, so it's pretty easy to merge up. I've chosen Merrick here because he has higher HP than the rest of the units, except Sylvia, and plus Dark Excalibur reduces his own cooldown. So you have a bunch of units with cooldown reduction, all doing big shenanigans, and you can pretty much assume most of these units run Luna, especially with 2 airs, and Alm himself would run Luna as well. And the dancers just kind of make things happen if you try to hit and run, which is one of the problems with this sort of strategy once you consider the traps as well. So why does this work? Well, if you bait with Canagis or any tank in this specific place here, what happens is Ophelia is the unit in range of Canagis, and with the way with rallies work, Alm is going to rally Ophelia with guidance. And this is the important part I want to mention here. You may think that you could like tactics room. You could like tactics room here. Let's put the tactics room there. You may think you can Loki or tactics room Alm, but if Azura runs guidance, it doesn't actually work because Alm would just guidance in, rally Ophelia, get danced by Azura because that's the only position she can do that from, and have the exact same range as Ophelia. So plus, if she runs Hone Attack 4, which is optimal, she will give 7 to all stats, post-dance with Prayer Wheel, plus the 3 move from Grey Waves. So Canagis ends up not safe in this position. Same exact here, all these places here don't work against Alm, and you have an overlap between Alm and Ophelia. If you do survive those two, then you also have to consider that Lalina can also follow up after a dance from Sylvia. So it's like pretty ridiculous. Yes, you could tactics room Lalina's row, that is a thing, or Loki it as well, but again, you'd be giving up a slot, like Kaden, for instance, or your tactics room would just have to happen to be in this place, which isn't bad. It could be in that place. It is a viable, you never know. I've seen tactics room work in almost all places, but yeah, this is pretty much what you're set up as a decent AR defense team. There could be ways to do this better. I did this in like probably 15 minutes, and it was really quick to write up. Going forward, though, I want to actually show you how powerful Alm can really be. So I've got our beautiful simulator here. As you can see, Akariss, in his almost best case scenario, I don't want to say the most resistant to range attacks he can be, because I feel like this is the build you want to bring when playing an AR offense, which uses Fallen Shield instead of Distant Defense 4. And plenty of people will say Distant Defense 4 does do better against this team, and you would be right. But when you run into Fireballs that use Est with her ridiculous attack throughput, or just Lunas with Micaiahs, Moonbows with Dancing Micaiahs, Daggers that are armor slaying, then you're gonna regret using Distant Defense 4 rather than Fallen Shield. You'll definitely regret that scenario. So yeah, other things you could use, of course, would be Distant Defense 3 Seal or QR, just to make sure he goes through that. Special Fighter Noontime gives you consistent heals through every combat engagement. As you can see here, he's got 10, 10, 10 spurs. This comes from Caden, providing 6 to all stats for Akariss, as well as Akariss himself benefiting from visible 6 attack buffs. Unfortunately, a good enemy team would use chills, like chill attack, defense, and res. This is found through the seals now, or the B slots. Lilina herself has it on her tome, so you see, you kind of have to fight a big stat battle here. Akariss with plus attack, I feel, is best if you want to secure kills. However, plus res is viable as well. And yeah, I mean, you summoner support him with S rank and 2 airs plus 5 dragon flowers. So this is about as beefy as Akariss that you saw on this map, provided through drives and supports through Alphons. Now, looking at the other side, though, we have Alm. And Alm is... well, there he is, right? Plus 10, Luna, pre-charged through Sylvia and Merrick, providing infantry pulse, and he has his own quick impulse. He rallies, he has an attack boon, and yeah, 7 to all stats, so it's about 66 attack. He's got dragon flowers as well. And this is pretty much what you'd see on the enemy team in this case. So how does this all end up looking? Well, not too good, because as you may have guessed, Lunar Arc and Luna is a lot of damage. To pretty much show you how it ends up being, Akariss can't even kill Alm with the support unless you were to use a lot more attack buffs. Because of null follow-up and sturdy impact, Akariss is incapable of doubling. Even if he was to run Vengeful Fighter, he would need null follow-up in B, which you can't run because he's not an infantry. So what happens here is Alm survives the hit, Sylvia can Wings of Mercy in, dance Alm, and then Alm kill him, which is what you see through 2 attacks. Now, if Akariss does survive, he eats tons more damage as well through somebody like Ophelia, who could run guard in the B slot to prevent the heal from noontime. Blazing Light or Luna, probably Luna. And she herself would have about 67 attacks. You see how this gets a little bit ridiculous? And the Lina also would follow up with the Luna. It ends up being a pretty nasty scenario, and you got to consider that this is a plus 10 Akariss. So this is about as good as it gets. Okay, there's not many more units in this game that can pretty much pull off what Akariss does with this in sort of stat stacking. The dude is literally running almost like 60 some res, almost 51, 53, 63, 46, 50 res. He's literally here with like 50 res and 47 defense. This is with 2 airs too, by the way. So if this wasn't even light season, if this was Asher season and you don't get those air buffs, then units like Ophelia or Lina just end up hitting him really hard. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm kind of fearing, and why I said that Alm would be as impactful as he is, because that scenario, even though it may seem pretty rare, ends up being the type of end game that this character would have, that you as an Omega tank strat would run, or, you know, if you use Noe or Faye or whatever you have, Surtur, it doesn't really matter. Those all won't even compare. They will all get shredded by Alm's armor penetration effect. And that's why this matters so much, is because all these 50 defense, 50 res situations all get beat up by Luna, Lunar Arc, and just Lunar Flash, all these like ridiculous armor penetration skills. So I guess I kind of summarized what I want to say. The best way to beat a team like this is actually to try to vantage it. So if there's no hardy bearings on the units, or if you have a really good Gale Force team that can test traps properly, you know, combination of Tactics Room and Gale Force, you can probably pull it off like that. But that's kind of what Alm is forcing in the game right now. He's forcing you to adapt to different strategies besides just plumping your unit onto a tile and hoping for the best, because that's not going to work going forward with people who use Alm properly like this. And this is just one example of using Alm. I feel like he can be used in mixed team comps, mixed air defense team comps as well, just using his Lunar Flash as it is, and that could have even more consequences. A combination of Fire Sweep units, for instance, plus Alm means that a unit can't really beat a sturdy impact Alm. You can't run both Null Follow-Up, Outspeed Alm, and deal with Fire Sweep weapons at the same time, because B slot is either taken by Null Follow-Up or Null Seed Disrupt. So one way or another, Alm ends up being super impactful for those mega tank strats that you may want to pull off. That pretty much summarizes all I'm going to say. Feel free to let me know how your experiences with Alm has been in the comments below. I'm also going to be releasing a more comprehensive impressions and tips guide for Allegiance battles coming up. We'll talk about Alm there as well, and Roy a little bit. And after this, maybe I'm going to be building my own air defense team using Alm. I would expect this in a few months or so. Currently I use a Fireball, but you guys can all find that in Discord. I do post my builds and my map layouts there, so if you're interested in seeing that, do join the Discord and, you know, go check that out if you want to get more information. But yeah, look forward to all that stuff in a few months. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one, all right?